Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Just One End podcast. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, but you can call me Liz. I am coming to you from Cochranville, Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband Greg, our two children Eric and Tilda, and our dog Millie. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Algebrina, and there is a Ravelry group for the podcast called the Just One End podcast group, where we've got knit-alongs and just general chatter threads, if you want to check that out there. Today is Saturday, October 28th. Again, it's almost Sunday, October 29th, because I'm recording this late at night because I'm a night owl and that's really the best time for me. Kids are in bed and I just don't have to worry about being interrupted. So that's what we're doing. So it has been 3 weeks, I think, since I last podcasted. A little bit more, actually, I think. At least since I recorded last. I did post my last episode, I think, 3 weeks ago from this recording, because I remember I was uploading it while I was at Knitter's Day Out. I uploaded it from the hotel room that morning. So a lot has happened. Obviously, I went to Knitter's Day Out. Just last weekend, I went to Pittsburgh, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like a lot has happened. So today I've got quite a bit to share with you. I have a couple of finished objects. I have a few works in progress, a couple of things that I've picked up, some things that are brand new, and then a few acquisitions. Not as many as you would think, considering how long it's been since I podcasted last. So that's, I'd say, one in the win column for me, to not have a huge haul to share with you. I think it helps that one of the things I didn't do was go to Rhinebeck. So if I had, I probably would have a different acquisition section for you. But next year. So let me talk about the hat along that's going on right now. I am hosting a hat along. I'm calling it a hat along because you could knit or crochet a hat anytime in the month of October. It started October 1st and goes through November 1st. So if you cast on and finish a hat during that time, you can enter it into the Ravelry group for that hat along. The rules are over in the Ravelry group, and the prize is this really adorable ball sack from Steel City Stitcher, which is Roberta. It's got hugs and hot cocoa, which is just the cutest thing ever. So it's got a ball sack. There's a lavender sachet in there as well. And a stitch marker, and her little button. So that is the prize for the hat along. Like I said, it goes through November 1st, so I will close the thread at that time, probably midnight Eastern time, November 1st, somewhere around there. And then draw a winner and announce on my next podcast, which I'll record something next week, whether or not it's a full episode, we'll see, but we'll at least get the winner announced. So that's going on first. So from that, let me jump in with my first finished object. Boy, this is going to be fun. So from that, let me jump in with my first finished object, which is my hat for the hat along. So I knit the worm hat, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. It is basically a stockinette, reverse stockinette alternating bands, which is a lot of fun. It's got a really cool texture. It's got some nice bounce to it. And then I threw on a pom-pom. So this pom-pom, I'll talk about it in acquisitions, but I thought that was a lot of fun. I don't know how the color is going to look on this particular episode. So one of my non-yarny acquisitions this week, I actually picked up a Google Pixel 2 phone, and I'm trading in my old phone. So the camera that I'm used to using, I won't have anymore because it's on my old phone that I'm about to send in. So I'm trying it out on my new Pixel 2. So we'll see how the sound quality is. Since it doesn't have a headphone jack, the microphone I was using before doesn't work with it. I have like the adapter to plug in headphones, but the microphone doesn't work with that. Like it doesn't pick up the sound any different. So we'll see how the sound goes. We'll see how the lighting goes. I am using my nighttime lights since it is night, but I don't know how colors will show up. So we'll see. It's a new experiment. So anyway, so this is my hat. I'll pop it on real quick. So I really like the pattern. It's a lot of fun to do. I mentioned it last time. I did a bit of a hack where I basically turned it inside out anytime I had to do reverse stockinette, so I could just keep knitting. So if you want to see more details about that, just watch last week's episode, or the last episode, not last week. And yeah, and it's in Quince & Co. Chickadee, and the color is, I think the color is lichen. If I'm wrong, then I'll correct it down below. But, so that's my hat that I finished for the hat along. I'm definitely planning to make more of those hats. Like I said, I really like the patterns, so I'd like to make a few more. It was a lot of fun. So that's my first finished object. I have another finished object, which is weaving. I showed this a couple times ago, I think. I made what was intended to be a tea towel, but it's a bit small for a tea towel. It's more of a placemat. I'm not going to make more though, so it's not going to be a set of placemats. This was more just a learning experience. So it's just a really, really small table runner or some sort of a mat. So it's just with some cotton yarn that I picked up at Walmart. I think it's Peaches and Cream, I think is the brand. And yeah, and I just did like a little plaid coloring pattern, which was a first for me. That's what I was trying out. So that was a lot of fun. And then I did this twisted fringe to finish it, which was a lot of fun. Apparently there's like little mechanisms that you can buy that'll do the twisting for you, which I don't own. So these were all done by hand. But they're still, it took a long time, but they're really cute. I like how they turned out. So, so I still have to give it a wash. I think that there's more that you can do to get the weaving to kind of go together more too. You can see it's a bit gapey. I think I've been looking at YouTube videos. I think you can like roll it out, like just do like I think they called it a cold press, where you basically just, you wash it while it's damp, you roll it with a rolling pin or something heavy, just to kind of spread the fibers. So I've still got that to do on it, but otherwise it's done. So we'll call that done. I am gonna I'm gonna put something else on my loom pretty soon. I really want to keep trying to go for what I originally bought the loom for, which was to try and do like a scrappy piece of fabric. Like all of the yarns I've already put into my Cozy Memories blanket, kind of take whatever's left from those and put it into a weaving, and then make a project bag out of that. I thought that would be really fun. So, I may start trying things out to make that happen, but we'll see. So that is my weaving finished object. And then that's it for finished objects, except I did want to share one thing. The Maddie in Pink poncho, which I promise someday I will stop talking about. I had finished it a couple of episodes ago. I sent it off to its recipient, and who was Maddie. And she was able to wear the poncho in the last couple of weeks because it was finally cold enough. And her mom took some pictures and sent them to me. So I wanted to put those in here so you could see how adorable this little girl is, and how excited I am that it fits her and it just looks so cute on her. So, so that is the Maddie in Pink poncho, wrapping that one up. I promise I won't talk about it anymore. Okay, so that's finished objects. Now, works in progress. So I'm kind of all over the map with works in progress. So let me start with this one. I've shown this a couple of times. I've put it down a few times and just, it's one of those things where I work on it in short bursts and then kind of put it down for a while. So I had a short burst during the last 3 weeks. I haven't worked on it in the last week or so, but I wanted to share what progress I made. So this is my childhood memory shawl. It is in my Dalek bag from Steel City Stitcher. I am using Woolen Vine yarns. This is Neptunia on the Blitz base, which you can see is gold sparkle. Which hopefully you can see is gold sparkle. Sparkle is so hard to record. But I love this color. I love green. Green is my color, in case you haven't noticed from some of the projects that I've done. But it's so much fun. It's got some really cool pops of other colors in there. There's some brown and some blue and some orange. And I love the gold stellina. I really think it gives it a warmth. So that's the yarn I'm using. And this is where I'm at. So I had already done the garter section here, which has a little bit of texture in it. You can see that. And then this is where I have made some progress is, sorry, on the lace section here. So you can see it's kind of got like this crisscrossing cabling, twist stitch kind of thing going on, and these great eyelets. You can see me. So I am loving how this is working. I've never done eyelets this particular method. It's a lot of stitches in those, and they really get pulled quite big. Even without blocking, they would still really be really huge, which is something that's not common in lace. Sometimes in lace, you really need to stretch it out to give it its real shape. And this one, it's already almost there. It's, I mean, I obviously will block it, but yeah, it's really cool how these eyelets work. Someday I will finish that shawl, but I really like just putting in a couple of inches here and there. It's nice to just keep going back to. That is work in progress number 1. Number 2, we'll go with this one. So this is another Steel City Stitcher bag. I'm trying to see, yeah, all my projects are Steel City Stitchers today. I don't have any other project bags in use that I'm actively working on. I do have other project bags, but yeah, they're just holding languishing whips at the moment instead of active whips. So my project bag though is Steel City Stitcher. It's the cute little fox drawstring bag. The project in here is a pair of socks. So the yarn is Felici in the Candy Shop. So this is from Knit Picks. So this is a pair of socks that I'm making for my sister. It is done except for an afterthought heel. I marked where I think it's gonna go. I've never done a successful afterthought heel. I did one for myself in an early pair of socks, and I think I put it in the wrong place. So, and that was a waste yarn afterthought heel. This one is a true afterthought. I'm gonna be cutting into it and putting in a heel. So I want to finish both socks first before I do that, before I actually do the cutting and put in the heel, and hopefully they'll work out. But so this one, I do have a contrasting toe. This is a one of my minis from the Sweet Georgia like rainbow box that I picked up not too long ago. And I'm hoping I have enough because they're pretty small minis. I haven't actually weighed it, but I'm really hoping I do. But I love the way it fit in this color. I don't know, everything seems really dark. We'll see how this goes. But since this Candy Shop is a bit of a rainbow, but it doesn't have any purple in it, so I thought that would make a nice toe and heel. So that's what that is. I am casting on the second sock soon. I just haven't gotten around to it. I did knit these using the 9-inch circulars, which I mentioned last time. I actually turned out to like them. Oh, I didn't mention that last time. I forgot. I started these after the last time I recorded. So I've mentioned in the past, I tried 9-inch circulars and I didn't like them. This time I tried them and I stuck with them and didn't quit while I was on ribbing. So it turns out I don't like 9-inch circulars doing ribbing. Once you get to just the knitting part, they were fine. I really, everything went pretty fast. It was pretty easy to knit. I don't think that it was super fast. I don't think it was like noticeably faster than any other method that I've used, but it was nice. I'll probably stick with them for doing this type of sock, especially with an afterthought, because you're just knitting, and you don't have to do any shaping. So they're great for that. So I take it back. 9-inch circulars are fine. I am using like a 2.5. I think I would like to go down to a size 1. Because size 1 is my normal sock size. I'm making these for my sister, so I'd never made her socks before, so I wasn't really sure what was going to work anyway. That's actually why it's a bit wonky in the middle here, because I threw in a decrease round because it was feeling too loose. So I knew when I got it down to where the foot was going to be, I wanted it to be a little bit tighter. So there's a random decrease in there. So, but anyway, so I would like to try out a smaller size 1 9-inch circular for myself and see if I still like them too. So next time I'm in Flying Fibers, I'll pick one up. Maybe 2 actually. It might be nice to do 2 at a time with not 2 at a time, but like tandem knitting with 9-inch circulars. So we'll see. So that's that project. I do need to cast on the second sock. I finished this one. Actually, I finished this one on our way back from Pittsburgh. So it's been almost a week and I haven't cast on the second sock. So second sock syndrome is kicking in a little bit, but hopefully I'll be able to overcome that quickly. And then, okay, so my next whip is a bit of a sad story. I was working on my cubic scarf. I don't remember if I shared this before. It's double knitting. It's what I bought the Quince & Co. Lark for. It's the scarf I've been promising to my husband. So I cast it on and I was making really good progress. I had about 20.5 inches done, and it was just not gonna work. It was too wide. When I was casting it on, the pattern says to cast on as many as you want in a set of 10. 10 double stitches, so it's really like 20 stitches. But cast on as many as you want, just in a multiple of 10. So I cast on 30. And the picture had 20. And I just didn't really realize that. I looked at 30, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fine. You know, I like a wider scarf. And I was just knitting that way. So I had 3 repeats of the cube pattern, basically. And it was too wide. Double knitting is really thick because you've got 2 layers of knitting back to back, basically. And it was just like standing straight up, and it has 0 drape because it's so thick. And so it wasn't going to work. 20 plus inches in is better to make the decision then than when you're done with it and you just don't like it. Plus, looking at the proportion of it, how wide it was and how long I was going to have to make it look like a normal scarf, not like short and stubby, I was going to have to buy more yarn, and I didn't particularly want to. I thought that 200 grams of yarn should be plenty for a scarf. So yeah, so I scrapped it. I pulled it out. It was a bit sad, but I've started it again. So it actually was knitting up pretty quick. The pattern's actually pretty intuitive. I say that, and I had already messed it up once by going off memory instead of the chart. But now I really know what I'm looking for, so it's pretty intuitive. But I have made pretty good progress. I think I'm probably at maybe 6 inches or so, 6 to 8 inches. And this is mostly just knitting in the last couple of hours tonight. I had like that much done a few days ago, and then that much while Greg was getting the kids ready for bed and reading them stories and things like that. So by the time he was done and it was my turn, I'd made that much progress. So pretty good. I mean, I think that it's a pretty quick knit. It obviously goes faster now than it was before, since it is 2/3 the original length that I was doing it. So yeah, so sad story, but I think this is going to turn out much better. It's much thinner scarf width wise, and I think it's gonna work out a lot better. So that's this. I do love this pattern. It is so cool, like the geometric pattern to it, the 3D effect and the optical illusion with the cubes in both directions, and it's just a really cool pattern and idea. So, and double knitting is actually a lot of fun. I had done the sorry, I am trying to pick off whatever that is sticking under it. I had done the hot pad that you'll have seen a video of if you've watched that on my channel. I had made that. That was my first double knitting project. hot pad pot holder. I don't know. I call it, I use those interchangeably. So, so that was like a picture grid, which I find harder. I'm just not very good at reading charts. I'm not good at reading knitting charts. I mean, color charts I think are a little bit easier, but the whole working back and forth thing and trying to remember which direction to go on which line, I just get confused with it. So that one I had to pay attention every line to what the chart was, because it wasn't intuitive, it was a picture. So it was a different section of the picture you were looking on. This one, you can memorize the chart really easily because it's just repeating. It's 10 rows that repeat. And it makes sense what they're doing because you can see, I mean, they go in and out like you do more whatever color. Anyway, so I don't know. I find this a lot more fun. I think if I do stick with double knitting and do more double knitting projects, it will probably be things more like this, where it's a geometric pattern that has an intuitive repeat, rather than a chart where I have to pay attention to every row and it's going to be changing. So I don't know. We'll see. I really do enjoy it though. Now I use a yarn guard or yarn guide, I mean, which is, it's just a clover yarn guide. It's a little piece of plastic that opens up and will hold up to 4 strands of yarn. I guess you could really get more in because you could go on either side, but it just keeps your yarn separated. And then I just keep it on my left hand and I hold both strands on the left hand. So I love this yarn guide. I've used it for color work as well in the past, and I find it a lot easier because then I don't have to learn how to tension my yarn using 2 different fingers, or have to use my right and my left hand because I'm a terrible thrower. I'm just very, very slow at it. So this allows me to keep picking in my normal style that I'm used to. So I highly recommend these yarn guides. Like I said, they're from Clover. They're super cheap, like $1 or $2, maybe $3, but they're just, I have like 4 of them because I keep losing them. But yeah, they're great to have. So this one I actually decided to switch project bags. This has become my lucky bag lately. This is my fruit bag from Steel City Stitcher. Whatever project I'm most dedicated to or finishing the quickest has been in this bag. So I had my worm hat in this bag. I think it was my son's socks in this bag. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I had my daughter's sweater in this bag. So this is my, I need to focus on it and get it done lucky bag. So, so the cubic scarf has moved and made its home into this bag so that hopefully there will be some good juju and it will go better than it did the first time. 2 more, I swear I'm almost done. I have been working on, these are both non-knitting whips. So I have been reinvigorated in my stitching, especially in the past week. I think it always happens near the end of the month because I always get close to a, I'll finish one of the month panels from the yearly stitch along that I'm doing, or year-long stitch along that I'm doing. And then another release of the pattern the next month will come out within a couple of days. So that's just, I don't know. Apparently I'm motivated toward the end of the month to be only 6 months behind instead of 7. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm popping it off my Q-snap right now. I don't think I've talked about this since the first time I bought it. I worked on it on that Halloween stitch, the candy corn and the ghosts, a couple months ago. And that's when I picked up the Q-snap, and I really liked it for that project, but I am loving it for this bigger project because I can go to certain sections and it keeps the tension so well. I mean, I've used hoops in the past, and I find them irritating to have to pull on, and I don't love hoops. They also leave a mark, like you can see the hoop on your fabric when you move it, which is kind of irritating. And then I've also used like a scroll frame, which I like, but it doesn't really keep even. It wasn't keeping even tension. Mine was pretty old. I didn't particularly love it. Also, it was kind of huge. So as I'm working on it, I'm like holding this huge frame, and I hold it vertically, instead of horizontally for this particular project because this is a, this project is wider than it is tall. So anyway, so I switched to a Q-snap, and I love, love, love my Q-snap. So I use an 8x8 square, and I just put it on the section that I'm working on. Since this is a month at a time pattern, actually 1 month's pattern fits in pretty well into one square, so I could just leave it on for that section. So highly recommend the Q-snap if you've not checked it out. It keeps tension so well. It is so easy to loosen if you need to like fiddle with getting threads in the back and all that, and retighten. It goes over your finished stitches pretty well. I'm a little bit paranoid, so I do like put some blank fabric in over top of my finished stitches just because I don't want anything to snag. They say it can. It's just I'm nervous about it. But sorry, I'm holding this and playing with it and haven't shown it to you yet. But anyway, I love the Q-snap, so I highly recommend it if you haven't checked that out. So I am working on a year-long stitch-along called Fabulous Women in History from Clouds Factory. I purchased this kit in, I think, March, and I have finished through the April panel. So I did January, February, March, April. I finished April last night. I started May this morning. I didn't get very far yet, but that's where I'm at. So this, there we go. So this is my full progress here. So I don't remember which month is which, but this one is April. This is what I just finished last night. So we've got Elizabeth the First and Jane Austen there. And then this is May, which I'm starting now. I've basically just done the words. It was starting with the R, and started the person that's on the side of the next panel. So this one, I think it's Sacagawea and Queen Victoria. So it is so much fun to be doing this. I have not done a lot of stitching in recent years. I used to do it a lot when I was in like late teens into my college years. And I haven't picked it up in a long time. So it has been a lot of fun to work on this. It's got that same kind of satisfaction as like the Cozy Memories blanket because it's got little finished object moments. So like I finished my April panel last night, and that's like, yay, I finished that one. That's like a finished project. Yes, I have 6 more months of panels to do before I'm even caught up. But it's the long haul. So it's really cool. I would love to stay motivated to finish it out by the end of the year. It would basically take all of my time, I think, so I'm not sure I really will be able to. I tend to overcommit to things anyway, so saying that I'll finish most of the year-long stitch-along in the last 2 months of the year is probably not that realistic. But I would love to do a year-long stitch-along again, especially if I stay on top of it and actually do the project for the month within like the first week instead of like 6 months later. But I think it was a lot of fun. If you're thinking about doing a stitch-along like that, highly recommend it. It's really cool to see each section of the pattern. I'm really excited to have this large piece at the end of it. And I think I'm gonna definitely get this one framed when I'm done, and it's gonna be hung up in my craft room. So that is my stitching whip. My last whip is something brand new to me. So I've mentioned before that I was going to Knitter's Day Out. I was going to take a class on the supported spindle, and I did do that. So so I took the class. I also got a little bit of extra help from Jerry from Flying Fibers because she's just really great and really awesome and so nice and so sweet that she would help me out. So I have been doing some spinning. So this is my spinning. It's really dark, mostly because the whole camera thing, but I am working with both merino, like a superwash merino roving, and some yak. Apparently superwash merino is really hard to spin with because it's very slippery, so it may not have been the best thing to start off with anyway, But I'm having a lot of fun trying out both. I really just kind of grab a little chunk of fluff from each and just kind of alternate. So there is a little bit of like white and brown that you can see. A lot of it's, underneath. I don't know. I don't want to mess anything up. But so I'm not really spinning this for anything other than experience, trying it out. I'm obviously not doing a fantastic job. There's a lot of thick and thin, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, which I think is the most important part. I do finally understand the appeal of spinning. I've never really understood not why people spin. I understand why people spin. Like, it's really neat to, make your own yarn, and it's, it's meditative and all of that. I just thought it was always kind of boring. But I'm also the kind of person that hates knitting like inches and inches and inches of stockinette, which some people love doing. So I understand there are different tastes. But I have been really enjoying just sitting there and the experience of spinning fiber into yarn, and eventually being able to, apply that and create my own yarn and maybe knit something from it. I'm excited with that prospect of doing that. I do also understand why people do wheel spinning, because I can imagine it's a lot faster. So I am more interested in checking out wheel spinning to try it out, but I am also really enjoying the whole supported spindle thing. First of all, it allows you to spin really, really super fine yarn. So that's a really cool thing to be able to do. And I can hang out in my recliner and just pop a little bowl in my lap and spin without having to be upright and seated and treadling on something. And I am an inherently lazy person, so so that is my kind of position. So that's my spinning. I haven't picked it up actually in a little while, but so this is the progress that I made pretty much right after the class and probably the week after. But you can tell I've been distracted by a lot with the whole stitching and the sock and everything else that I've been working on. So not overly surprising, but I would like to get back to it. Finish spinning what I have, and then I have this great little sampler pack, which I've shown before, of Sweet Georgia fiber, which is Blueface Leicester, which I'd like to spin, but I want to make sure that I'm more practiced before I dig into my really pretty stuff. So that's coming. I'll be spinning with some colors at some point. So that is it for whips. I do have some acquisitions to share, as you may imagine. So in my acquisition section, I'm going to share some of my stories and personal life stuff that's been going on, just to give some context. So let's start back at the day I uploaded the last episode. I was at Knitter's Day Out. It is held in Somerdale, Pennsylvania, which is near Harrisburg. It's where Central Penn College is, which is where Knitter's Day Out is held. And it's just 2 days, a Friday evening and an all-day Saturday of classes and a market. And it's a lot of fun. I've gone before. I hadn't gone in a couple of years, but I wanted to go this year. I took the supported spindle class, but otherwise I just hung out and knit. So I was very fortunate that the two groups of people that I wanted to see were located right next to each other and had empty seats right in the vicinity inside the market. So you've heard me talk about both of them. Flying Fibers, my favorite local yarn store that's not very local to me anymore, that I still love and still go back to. Jerry and Irina, they're on the committees with Knitter's Day Out anyway, so they're always there with planning and all of that anyway. And then they also vend there because they have their own yarn line, and they have they carry Chaigu and have all the interchangeables, so they do great with the needles there too. so they're always there. And then Jamie from Beautiful Mess Yarn Works was there for the first time this year, and so I wanted to see her and hang out and help support her. So those two people those two groups were right next to each other. Their booths are right next to each other, and there was a row of chairs on a wall in the empty space right next to Jamie's booth and right across from the Flying Fibers booth. So I got to just hang out and knit all day when I wasn't in my class. So Leslie, who is Jamie's mom, who is amazing, we just hung out next to each other, chatted, knit while Jamie was busy selling her yarn, and then Jamie got to come hang out and knit, and people would just wander by, and it was a ton of fun. So I really enjoyed myself. I saw a few people from the Elizabethtown knitting group that I used to go to when I lived closer to Elizabethtown. They're actually the people that I went to Knitters Day Out with the first time that I went. So it was really kind of fun to see them there again. One I will mention, Roxanne, she was actually vending there. She does pottery. And so I got her card, which is Muddy Rocks Pottery, and there's her information there. So that was Roxanne. It was funny because she was actually there all day Friday. She was the booth just to my left, so I had Jamie to my right, Flying Fibers right across, and she was off to the left, a little bit further away. But I didn't realize it was her the whole first day. So I was there hanging out and knitting on Friday, and it wasn't until Saturday where I saw her talking to someone, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Roxanne, who I haven't seen in ages, and who I used to knit with at the Elizabethtown group. And anyway, she's a lot of fun. I love her a lot, and it was so fun to reconnect with her. So you should definitely check her out. I did not really buy a ton. I really mostly just hung out. I did get a couple of things. So the first thing I got was a little bit of yarn. I did pick up 2 skeins of yarn. I picked up from Marigold Jen, which is Jenny Porter. And here's her card and her information. And I had already seen her at Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, which there's a story for later that I'll tell you. But I picked up some minis from her there, but this time I was specifically looking for some blue yarn that would work for a flax light sweater for Eric, since I'd finished Tilda's. And I picked up this great blue, these 2 skeins. So they've got, different shades of blue in it. Some lights and darks, which is a lot of fun. I really like this color. So I picked that up for him. This is 80/20 merino nylon sock weight yarn, and the color is Singin' the Blues. So I grabbed that. And then the only other thing I bought was actually a bag, and not even a project bag. I have been in the market for a purse because I bought I do not buy purses often. I do not own more than one purse at a time, really. Like, I have some old purses, but they're basically things that I've retired. Haven't actually thrown away yet because they're still, good enough to use, just I've moved beyond them. But I really only use one purse at a time. And the current purse that I was using was one that I'd picked up on a cruise ship 2 years ago. And the leather straps had already worn through once, and I had to take it to a shoe repair place and have them tack it down again. And it was coming loose again. So I was definitely in the market for a new purse. So I found this amazing bag maker. It's I may be saying this wrong, but it's Tanny Casey. So there's her card, Tanny Casey, and she makes bags. She had some wooden handle bags, she had some wax canvas bags, she had some project bags, she had some little purses and wallets. So what I picked up is a waxed canvas bag. And I love this green color. I mentioned green is my color. It's got these great leather straps, and then a canvas bottom as well. And it's got great pockets on the inside. It's got a neutral color magnetic snap. And these awesome pockets. There's one that's like a short little narrow pocket that's perfect for putting a pen in. And I love my pens. I have some great pens. So it's just so nice to have such a well-constructed handmade bag to use as my purse. I'm thrilled about it. In fact, I switched it over to my purse that evening. I went out to dinner later, and by the time I went out to dinner after, all of my stuff was already in this new purse. So I was ready for it. So I did look up her information too. She actually uses the waxed canvas. It's from a small business as well. So I wanted to plug them. It's A.L. Francis. So I'll put that information here too. But you gotta love a small business supporting another small business and promoting them. And so anyway, I love the bag. I also picked up a little coin purse. So just something cute. Keep some coins in. I couldn't believe the difference when I picked up my wallet after I transferred all my coins over. It felt so empty. I was like, okay, something's missing. Yeah, all these coins were missing. So, and that's all I picked up. So I just got the 2 skeins of yarn and the bag and the little coin purse. But I still had a ton of fun. I think I was a bit yarned out after having been to the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival so recently. And I don't know, just I feel like I bought a lot of yarn. So I'm not buying quite as much yarn. I am still buying a few things, but it's usually like accessories and such, which you'll see in the acquisitions too. But let me tell you my fun little story about Knitter's Day Out and the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival. So I was, like I said, I was sitting there chatting with Jamie and Leslie most of the time. And I had referenced having gone to the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, which, is a mouthful, so we were just calling it SVFF. And so the next day it came up, and Jamie pointed out to me that I had been saying Susquehanna Valley Fiber Festival because, Susquehanna, Shenandoah, both are words that I've heard my entire life and that are just, they're places around here. So I apparently substituted it and wasn't really realizing it at all. So I knew that I had just uploaded my latest podcast episode that morning, and I knew I referenced it at least 5 times. So I was like, gosh, I hope I didn't say Susquehanna every time in that episode. So sitting there in the market, I pull up my phone and I pull up the episode and I go to a section that I knew I'd talked about it, that I knew I'd said it. So I fast forward to that section. I'm sitting there, I'm holding my phone, I'm listening to it, and I hear myself say Shenandoah. I was like, yes, all right, I said it right. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just try to remember to say Shenandoah from now on. Quit saying Susquehanna. And then I got home later that night and I rewatched it because I tend to not do my show notes until after I've posted it. I'll usually just post it to get it out there, and then I'll say show notes pending, and then within a day or two I'll rewatch it and I'll take my notes and I'll add all of my links and all of that, and I'll put it into the description. So I did that. I was sitting at home rewatching the podcast, and every other time except the one that I checked while I was at Knitter's Day Out, I said Susquehanna instead of Shenandoah. There's even one part where I stumbled over it so many times that I said it 3 times in a row that I said Susquehanna. So, yeah. Oops. And I'd already posted the podcast, so I couldn't do that, pop up the text and say, I said it wrong. I had to just put it in the notes. So if you were yelling at me that, duh, it's not Susquehanna, it's Shenandoah, I realized that. And I did put it in the, the description in the bottom that I made that mistake. So, yeah, that was fun. So anyway, speaking of the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, though, I do want to show the one acquisition that I forgot to show last time. I got this adorable mug from Anna Branner's Cloth and Clay, and she is a woolly woman on Instagram. So I love the little chickens. I think they are just the cutest thing. There's little lambs there. I love this mug so much. Yeah, so you should definitely check her out. She was at the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival. I know that she does other festivals. But yeah, look at her stuff. I love it. It's just so cute. I don't think I've mentioned it already, but this may be a little bit of a longer podcast. Sorry. This is what happens when you don't podcast for 3 weeks and then do a lot of stuff. If I just stayed home for 3 weeks, it'd just be sharing projects, but no, I did more than that. So the other acquisitions that I've made, a few of them. How about, let's do the next acquisition that I made. You already saw one, which was the pom-pom on the top of my finished hat. I picked up 2 more pom-poms at the same time. So this is from, and I may be butchering the name again, I want to say it's Fabulous Knits because there's 3 F's at the front. But I don't know, maybe it's FF Fabulous Knits. I'm pretty sure it's just Fabulous Knits. So I picked up these. There's an Etsy shop. I'll put the information down below. This one I love. It's got lime green on the tips, which I think is just going to be so much fun on a hat. And then this one is the Cougar. And I don't remember what this one is, but it's huge and big and fluffy and has these black tips. Or brown, I guess. They're really dark brown. So I knew I wanted a pom-pom for this hat. And I just picked up, I didn't know which one was going to work with it. I was going to buy a pom-pom at Knitter's Day Out. So here's a fun fact. 50% battery life is not enough to start with if you want to record an hour long on your phone. So I just died. I am going under the assumption that the first half of everything that I recorded was saved and I don't have to start over. So hopefully all that was saved. Anyway, I bought a bunch of pom-poms. I think they're really cute and I'll find things to put them on. Okay. So another couple of purchases I made, just randomly. I did go to Flying Fibers just to hang out last weekend, I think, or not last weekend, but the weekend before. And I picked up a little bit of yarn. I picked up 2 skeins. That was it. But they have Frolicking Feet, which is 100% superwash merino yarns. And so I picked up 2 skeins. I got this one, which is Under the Sea, which is white and blues. And then this one, which is Sailor's Delight, which is this great, almost neon blues and purples and bright, bright pinks. So I think these are just going to be super fun. This one I think is going to be socks because it's just, I think this will make really cute socks. So I picked those up. That was my last yarny purchase. So hi, my name is Liz. I'm a yarn addict, and it has been a week and a half since my last yarn purchase. 2 weeks. It has been 2 weeks since my last yarn purchase. I bought other stuff, but that was the last time I bought yarn. I do have one more yarn to show you, though, because I happen to be the winner of the 100 subscriber giveaway that Crafty Mama did. So I got that yarn. So this is Halloween Graffiti, which she sent me. Candy Coated Yarn is the name of her yarn company. And she sells on Etsy currently. I know she has a .com that she's working on getting up and running. I don't know what status it is now, but I know that she also does project bags. She started with project bags. So she sells both of those on Etsy right now. But this is her Sweet Base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and fingering weight. I think I would love to try and make a fingering weight worm hat, because I feel like this is the kind of thing that works really well for a sockhead hat. It's got some cool colors, and the sockhead hat shows it off well. But I don't love the idea of knitting a sockhead hat because I hate ribbing. And I hate stockinette, and the sockhead hat is like 6 inches of ribbing or 4 inches of ribbing or some ridiculously long amount of ribbing and then a ridiculously long amount of stockinette. So I don't want to knit a sockhead hat, but I thought that a worm head hat would be cool, a worm hat would be cool, and I'd like to try it with a fingering weight, just see what adjustments I can make to make that happen. I wanted to do this before Halloween. But I've got too much going on. So obviously that's not going to happen since Halloween is now like 3 days away. But maybe for next Halloween I'll have it. So thank you, Dawn. It was very exciting to win that. And I'm looking forward to working on this. I think I'm going to cast it on soon. Even though I'm saying I want it for Halloween, I'm going to make it now. Fluff. I might make it now for next Halloween. It's just not gonna be done before this Halloween. And then I also made a fabric purchase. Oh my goodness, it's the pom-pom. Those pom-pom feathers. I made a fabric purchase online. I shared last time that I had purchased the Tilly and the Buttons pattern for the Cleo dress, which is like a dungaree style, overall style. I would say overall. Just dress. It's really cute. So I went to Fancy Tiger Crafts and purchased some fabric online from them. So I think this is going to be really fun for that pattern. The print is, small and not overly bold. So hopefully, I don't know. I'm nervous about being able to pull off this dress because it's not my typical style, but I think it'll be really cute. So that's the fabric I purchased to make that happen. And then the only other acquisitions I have are for my trip to Pittsburgh. So let me tell you about Pittsburgh. My sister Mindy, every year we pick a city and we go for a day or a weekend and we do a tour while we're there and just hang out. It's an annual tradition that started 3 years ago. Her husband actually wanted to treat her to like a weekend away and like a pedicure and he wanted somebody to go with her. So he asked me if I was available and we planned it all out and so she and I went to Philadelphia, stayed overnight and got pedicures and just hung out. I was, oh goodness, 7 months pregnant with Tilda. So we did a lot of walking around the city, which was a bit interesting as a very pregnant lady, but it was still a ton of fun. So we really enjoyed it. So we decided to make it an annual tradition. Last year we went to Washington, D.C., and we did a duck tour. Oh, right, the tour. The tour is the biggest part. So Mindy and I went to Philadelphia the first year. We got pedicures and we did a bus tour, which was my first bus tour and just tons of fun. It was a double-decker bus, open top. We rode in the top. We were driving down these streets that were heavily treed. So we're like dodging branches and leaves, but it was a ton of fun. So we did that. And then the next year we decided to do Washington, D.C. That's when we decided to make it a tradition. We were like, well, that was so much fun last year. Let's do it this year. So we went to Washington, D.C. We did a duck tour, which if you're not familiar is like a boat that drives on land also. So you ride it in this boat and driving down the streets, and then eventually it takes you to a place where it enters the water, and then you continue the tour on the water. That was also a ton of fun. We ended up with a tour guide who happened to love airplanes, and so he took us to right underneath where the planes are landing at Reagan National Airport. And they land like every 90 seconds there. It's a crazy busy airport. And so he would just like have the boat floating as these planes are landing right on top of us as they're coming down. It was really cool. So we did DC last year. And then this year we were going to do Annapolis. We're restricted to, we want something that's pretty close by and it has a bus tour. We're going to be running out of cities eventually, but Annapolis has tours. Being the state capital of Maryland, they do have tours. So we were going to do Annapolis, but then when we went to book a hotel, like everything was booked. I don't know what was going on the weekend that we picked, but there was like nothing available. So we scrapped Annapolis, and we decided to go out to Pittsburgh. I've been out to Pittsburgh a couple of times before. Not like I hadn't spent a ton of time there, but I knew it's a really cool city. If you've ever been there before, they've got, I think it's like 400 some odd bridges and like 700 sets of steps throughout the city, and some of them have their own street names. It's just a really cool city. It has some unique features to it. So I suggested Pittsburgh. So that's what we decided to do. We booked a hotel. We went out. The first night we went to an improv comedy show, which was Also a first for me. I've been to stand up. I love stand up comedy. When I lived in Salt Lake City, there's this great stand up club called Wise Guys. And they just have awesome local comedians, and then they bring people in. If you've ever heard Ryan Hamilton, who has a Netflix special right now, he was actually a local up and coming comedian who I saw at Wise Guys regularly. He's been one of my favorite comedians since he started, basically. Well, I'm sure he'd been doing it for years before I met him, but I've been a fan of his for a long time. And it's Wise Guys. Wise Guys is where I got into stand up comedy. Not doing it. I have zero interest in doing stand up comedy. But I love watching stand-up comedy, and I love quoting comedians and all that. So, but we knew there was a comedy club, so we went to check out the comedy club, and it happened to be an improv show that night, which I've never seen live and by people, who know what they're doing. Like I've seen it at high school talent shows and other random things like that. Obviously, Whose Line Is It Anyway? It was a great improv show, but it was really fun to watch it be done by people who do comedy regularly. They asked for a volunteer to talk about their typical day, and nobody really volunteered. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll volunteer. Told them some things about my day, people I interact with, people in my family, all of that. And then they acted it out on stage in movie genres, which sounds really weird, but trust me, it was hilarious. Oh my gosh, I loved it. It was just so much fun to do. So I highly recommend the Arcade Comedy Theater in Pittsburgh. They just changed to a new location too, which they were really excited about. So it's just a really fun place to go. And their Comedy Royale. It's like a comedy sports kind of thing, if you've heard of that. It's basically competing improv members. You give points for who's the funniest, and it was just a lot of fun. So we did that on Friday. And then on Saturday, we did our bus tour. We did the Hop On Hop Off tour with the Pittsburgh Tour Company. Which was pretty fun, except for the fact that they're already on their fall schedule already. I mean, it's October. They're on their fall schedule, so they're basically running one bus in their circle, their circuit around, which means that the hop on, hop off times are 2 hours apart. So you can hop off, but you're not going to be able to hop on at the same place until 2 hours later. So we were really pretty much restricted to only 2 hop-offs in order to get back to our car by the end of the day. But it was fine. I mean, I think it would be a lot more fun to do in the summer when they're running 2, sometimes 3 buses at the same time. So your wait time, hop on, hop off, is closer to like 30 minutes to an hour than 2 hours. But it was still a lot of fun. I love the bus tours just because you learn so much about a city. You've got a tour guide who's usually entertaining and informative. And you get to see a lot of the city that you might not see otherwise. So we hopped off at the Andy Warhol Museum, and we did that for a couple of hours. We spent most of the rest of the time in the Strip District, which, if you've never been to Pittsburgh, is definitely the place to go. I mean, they've got shops and markets and restaurants and like every imaginable Steelers gear you could get. I mean, they have so much stuff. Oh, I have an acquisition that I didn't bring out with me. I won't bother. But it's just a light infinity scarf with Steelers on it. So I'll put a picture in. But it was just a really hopping place. It was really fun to, just be able to stop in at so many places. So it was just a lot of fun. And then we finished off the rest of the tour, which was like an hour and a half, and got back to our car. And we were parked at the Duquesne Incline, which there are 2 working inclines in Pittsburgh. You're getting a Pittsburgh history lesson, unless I cut all of this out. But the Duquesne Incline, it is it's like a trolley so it's a really steep hill, and then it's like a trolley that's sticking straight out and like climbing up the hill. And it's an incline engine. If you if you ever watch Thomas and Friends. Because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old almost. But in the Blue Mountain Quarry, they have an incline engine. That's what it's doing. It's taking, it's churning the mechanics to pull stuff up this really steep hill. So we rode on that. It's a way to get around that people can use, but it's also obviously a tourist attraction. So there was a really long line to check it out. So we waited in line for maybe, 45 minutes to an hour. And then we rode up, saw an incredible view of the city though. We stayed up until the sun had gone down so that we could see, the lights in the city. And then we headed back down and, grabbed some pizza, called it a night. So it was a really fun day, really cool experience. We did head back into the city on Sunday morning and we went to the Heinz History Center. And finished up there. And it was just a really cool weekend. So, all of that to say, I have 2 more acquisitions. Well, 2 more sets of acquisitions. When I was in the Strip District, I came across a fabric store. It was called Loom. And they had some fat quarters laid out on a table. I'll put in a little bit of video here. It's really just... I could have spent hours there looking through this fabric. But I have been wanting to try out just making a project bag for myself. Not to replace the lovely project bag makers that I already purchased from, but just to try it out. I am in no way planning to sell project bags, so don't even put that in your mind. I do not have time to do something like that. So I wanted to... I wanted to try and do one for myself, just to have a me-made project bag. And while I was there, I was looking at the fat quarters, and I got 4 fat quarters that I may end up pairing into project bags. So the first one is this really cute, Very Hungry Caterpillar fabric. And obviously that's a book that is read often in our house, with my kids being the age that they are. So I thought that would be a fun one to make a bag out of. And then I have this cute snail, I guess this way, fabric that I picked up that I thought would be a fun liner if I do that bag. And then I also saw this great piano fabric, which obviously, as a very musical person, I thought this would be appropriate. So I grabbed that. I think I will use this as lining for a bag that I want to make out of this fabric, which you may recognize as what I have a ball sack made out of. So Steel City Stitcher, who makes the original ball sack, I ordered one from her. Oh, sorry, I am itchy. I ordered one from her in this fabric. And when I saw it at this shop in Pittsburgh, which is where obviously she's from, being the Steel City Stitcher, I couldn't resist. So I think it would be really fun to have a matching project bag that I made and is a memory from my Pittsburgh trip, to use with my ball sack from my favorite bag maker from Pittsburgh. So I picked that up. I have no idea if she actually shops there, but the fact that I saw it there, I thought was kind of fun. So that was that. And then I did stop at a yarn store when we were in Pittsburgh. It was actually the first thing we did. We checked into a hotel, and then we stopped by a yarn store that was pretty close by. I didn't buy any yarn. I did buy a few little gizmos. And then that was the only yarny thing beyond the fabric of the weekend. I tried to make sure I didn't, it's our weekend, me and my sister, so I tried to make sure I wasn't gonna entirely dominate it with yarny things like I tend to do on road trips. But I went to Yarns by Design, which this is the tape measure that she gave me with my purchase, which tells you I did spend a little bit of money there. So her website's on there though. It's yarnsbydesignpa.com. So I picked up, first of all, I picked up this cute little enamel pin that says, "I feel like knit," which I thought was hilarious. I am really into enamel pins lately. I'm having fun decking out my knit bag. I actually picked up a couple at the Andy Warhol Museum too. Just a good witch, bad witch set of pins. I don't know where they are at the moment, but I'm enjoying the enamel pin thing. And I also picked up a Knitter's Keep, which you may have seen on other podcasts. I know I've seen this around by other people, but it's a really cool magnetic bracelet kind of thing that you can use to hold knitting tools. So I got a green one. It's like a slat bracelet. Come on. Yeah. So basically, it's a slat bracelet. You put it on, and this is a giant magnet, and it comes with a bunch of stuff. You've got opening stitch markers, large stitch markers, a tapestry needle, or 2 tapestry needles, small stitch markers, and then 2 cable needles. This is, the cable needles, not the needles themselves, but cable needles is why I got this, really, because I am the type that puts down the cable needle and can't find it. I do the same with the remote when I'm watching TV. I misplace it all the time. So I thought this would be very handy to have for holding outside of the pouch, obviously, but holding a cable needle while I'm working on a cabling project. So I picked that up. And then last thing I grabbed, and this is the last acquisition, I swear, the last thing I grabbed is this little keychain. So you may have seen the ruler bracelets that people have been wearing recently, especially. I've just noticed a ton of people are wearing it recently. So it's like a leather strap that wraps around twice, and it's a ruler, and it's really cute. And I really like the concept of it. I do not wear jewelry, even leather strap jewelry. I wear this Fitbit, but honestly, it's more of a watch than anything else for me. I have a metal allergy, so I've never had watches that worked really well, and I can wear this one without any issues. So I wear that. And then my wedding ring, which I've even replaced with a silicone ring. Metal allergy again. So I do not wear jewelry. But I saw that, I think it's the same company, but I picked up a keychain. So it's the same concept. It's this ruler. It's black, so it's probably really hard for you to see, but it's a 6-inch ruler in a leather strap that's folded over in a keychain. So this I'm hooking to my knitting bag. I'm going to find this a lot more useful. I may someday still get the bracelet. Who knows, maybe I'll actually wear it. But I thought this was more practical for me. So I picked that up. And then that was it. See, hardly anything. Yeah. I think that's everything I have for you. I think that is probably about an hour and a half of recorded footage. It probably won't be a full hour and a half when I actually post this because I had a lot of boring stuff that I was talking about. I don't think it's that boring, but I'm really chatty, so some people may not enjoy hearing every little detail of my Pittsburgh trip or any of that. So anyway, let me check my notes one more time, make sure that I haven't missed anything. Yeah, that's it. So just one more quick reminder about the hat along that's going on right now, that we're going to finish that up on November 1st. So if you've got a hat that you've been working on in October, hop over to the Finished Objects thread in the Ravelry group and post that and be eligible to win the awesome ball sack by Steel City Stitcher. Hot hugs and hot cocoa. Super cute. I love it. So that's it for episode 12. It's a bit of a long one. Thank you if you made it this far. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you'd like. I'd love to interact with you guys. And feel free to subscribe. I think we're at like 150 something, which is awesome. Maybe we'll do another giveaway at 200. I think that would be fun. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye! everyone. Welcome to episode 12 of the Just One End podcast. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, but you can call me Liz. I am kicking the table. Bah!